Welcome back for another episode of the Ross Bolen podcast, presented by Bolen Media. I am the aforementioned podcaster, joined today by producer Cade Orris, who is in charge of video production here at Bolen Media headquarters in Austin, Texas. Cade, thank you for joining me. Say hello to the loving listeners.
What's good, everybody?
As I said, Cade produces all the video content for RBP. And if you would like to watch our stuff rather than just listen to it, you can do so and see Cade's handiwork at youtube.com/@the Ross Bolen Podcast, where we recently passed 10,000 subscribers. Please subscribe to support the show. And if the full episodes are too long for you to watch, we've got some shorter segments coming out in video form with added visuals for your viewing pleasure as well, like Stuff to Wikipedia When You're High and Insane Headlines of the Day, for example. Now, I want to start today's show by asking a simple question. Is there a single remaining social media platform where you see what you actually want to see? I asked the same question on Twitter, noted social media platform owned by billionaire man-child Elon Musk, and the most reasonable answers I received were OnlyToes and Pornhub. And I'm not sure either of those actually qualifies as a social platform. I'm not even sure the first one exists. Although, for the sake of the foot enthusiasts in the audience, I hope it does. I guess toe enthusiasts specifically. Cade, you are a full decade younger than me. What is your favorite social media platform currently?
Honestly, none of them. I don't like any of the social media platforms nowadays. Well, I like I've said it before, but Be Real is probably my favorite. It's my go-to now.
Yeah.
But it's like there's not much you can do on that app other than just take a photo.
How often does it notify you that you have to be real and put something up?
It's once a day, and I don't do it every day. It's just like whenever I feel like it, kind of. I'll post one. And
you can pass?
Do what?
You can pass?
Yeah, you don't have to post it like a day, but
it doesn't penalize you if you don't participate?
No, but you just can't see the other people's posts.
Oh, so that's the trade-off.
Yeah.
On Be Real, you have to choose to put something up yourself in order to see what everybody else has put up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so it's just like the TikTok copycat. Like they have that version of it on TikTok now. They basically built a Be Real within
that's right,
TikTok,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
where you have to put something up to be able to see what everybody you follow has put up.
But yeah, that's probably like my favorite now, just because it's like you actually see like your friends and like what they're up to. And, you can like comment on stuff and like send like emojis, and like it'll take like you'll take a picture of yourself like reacting to their Be Real.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like
you can send that as your reply, instead of just like a generic comment.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I like it. I just wish like more of my friends were on it, because like I feel like that's the only platform where you can see your friends nowadays.
Yeah.
But other than that,
pretty sparse though.
Yeah,
it's not that populated.
Yeah, but other than that, like I'm on TikTok a lot, but like TikTok can be kind of whatever sometimes. Like you said, there are people I don't follow in my like For You page that get served to me constantly, and I never watch their videos. And it just like drives me nuts, because like I clearly don't want to see this, so why do you keep showing it to me? And then there's like people that like I do want to see, and like I rarely see their stuff.
They never show up. Yeah. Social media changed the landscape of human interaction when it was born of Mark Zuckerberg's loneliness and horniness nearly 20 years ago now. And while it began as a place for us to keep in touch and connect with each other, and at first kind of made us all feel like we could be closer together than ever before, not even 2 full decades later, we have perhaps never been further apart. We are more divided, more depressed, more lonely, and more stressed than ever. And the beloved social media platforms which once gave us joy seem to find new lows on a quarterly basis, fueling the demise of humanity's happiness. Places like Facebook, that were once centered on connection and community, have become a dumpster fire of divisive political statements and asinine oversharing. Instagram has become a self-esteem destroying hellscape filled with ads nobody wants to see and suggested posts that rob you of your faith in the human race. Twitter has become a battleground for the extremes of society and a breeding ground for hatred, disagreement, and malcontent, and perhaps the only platform that shows you, at least pretty consistently, what you asked to see. TikTok is so addictive and damaging to productivity and mental health that the United States government is actively attempting to ban it altogether. So my question is, how did it come to this? Every time I think social media has bottomed out, which has happened countless times over the past 5 years in particular, it finds a new low. And really, the answer to what went wrong is the same as it often is, sadly. Money. Like when Facebook went from a fun place to keep up with family and friends and meet new people with similar interests to a publicly traded company with stockholders and a board to answer to, that's when the downfall began. And when Instagram went from a place I could enjoy pictures of what my favorite people in the world were doing and seeing to a godforsaken splattering of Pepto-Bismol commercials and influencers influencing, it was pretty obvious that the good times were gone. When Twitter was bought by a habitual line-stepping shit poster of a meme-sharing dork lord billionaire bozo, we all knew it wouldn't go well. But holy shit, I don't think anyone could have predicted it would get this weird this quickly. And the sad truth is that I am rooting for the downfall of social media at this point. It may be humanity's saving grace when all of this falls apart. Like as all these platforms get further and further from what they started out as and built their audience on, more and more people are leaving in droves, forcing the humans back out into the real world to seek connection with each other in the physical spaces which once served as our social hangouts. And it is my assessment as a social media professional that the only way for us to come together is for us to actually come together, not sit arguing and bickering and canceling each other and becoming outraged online through the sad comfort of our phones and computers. But IRL, as the kids say, in real life, that is the only way. And I used to think that I lived in the most exciting and amazing point in human history, in large part due to technological advances and the internet and social media. But over time, social media has robbed me of that perspective, as the negatives of its use have begun to outweigh the positives more and more just by the day. And you may be thinking, Ross, quit bitching and just get off social media. Therein lies the rub, my friend. My job, my company, my career is dependent on social media for survival. As such, I am a self-loathing part of the problem. But to my credit, like when I started my job, and at that point I was a writer, I had no idea it would transform into what it is today, where the only writing I do is for the sake of the podcast, and I had no idea the platforms on which my career relied for exposure and marketing purposes would become what they are today. And to be frank, it depresses me on a bi-weekly basis, at least twice a week. I get down about my job because I fucking hate going online now, because it's just not bringing me any joy on these platforms. It's all dog shit, and I hate it. But if everyone right now tells 100 people about Bolen Media Podcasts, then maybe by 2033, I can delete all these platforms and throw my phone into a storm drain, as is my dream, and live happily ever after. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to continue to use all these evil apps to spread the word about Bolen Media shows in an effort to avoid ever having to find a real job. But in the meantime, all I can do is try to make Bolen Media shows and content a light in the otherwise dark, doom-scrolling nightmare that every social media platform has become. And we appreciate your support. But before we move on to more pressing topics, I would just like to publicly remind everyone that I did not pay for Twitter Blue. I did not. I earned my checkmark by writing a best-selling smut novel in 2012. Please respect my authority and do not tweet that this MF paid for Twitter meme at me. Please and thank you. I have pinned this statement to my Twitter profile so there is no confusion, since Elon, in lieu of removing legacy verification checkmarks as promised, has instead changed the badge statement to say, this account is verified because it's subscribed to Twitter Blue or is a legacy verified account. He just lumped us all together. What a coward. In all seriousness, I do not give a flying witch's tit about the stupid blue checkmark on Twitter, and at this point, I wish you would take it away to free me from it. It is my checkmark of power. My precious. I'm like Frodo in Lord of the Rings, and I want it to be destroyed so I can move on with my life. On the last night of March, the day before Musk had promised legacy checkmarks would begin to be removed, I changed my name on Twitter to Senator Ted Cruz and my photo to Senator Ted Cruz, and I began tweeting outrageous things as an imposter Ted Cruz to celebrate the end of an era, and half-heartedly to get myself banned from the app entirely. But then I found out the era has not, in fact, ended, and instead, the son of a bitch Elon lumped elite A-list celebrities like myself in with the paying losers. Very unfair. Kate, I ask you today to end this little beginning segment about social. All right, my Instagram, I'm 35. So my Instagram has progressed into the realm where the only time I see anything from someone I actually know, like that I've met, spent time with, care about, might consider a friend, or at the very least, a social acquaintance, is a photo of their kids doing something, or maybe a pet, like a dog, usually. Sometimes a cat gets thrown in the mix, and that's really exciting because it's different. But I remember, when I was a little bit younger, it was mostly photos of groups of friends out, like at bars or restaurants and shit, social gatherings, or like people's vacation pictures, like at the beach or climbing a mountain or visiting Machu Picchu or whatever, which was still kind of cool because at least it was like, well, I've never been to Machu Picchu. Now I can see my friend there, and that's sort of nice, right? Like at least it was like, look at that. People are out experiencing life on some level, and I still get some vacation shit, but it's usually like family vacations to Florida, not so much like cool destinations. So what are 25-year-olds putting on Instagram now? Like, what do you see
honestly,
when it is someone you know?
It's kind of like all the same shit. It's like I see a bunch of wedding stuff now. People getting engaged.
Yeah.
Some are having babies, and
so like life announcements mostly.
Yeah, pretty much. And then like some people do like photo dumps from the month.
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed that.
I like that. It's not like all just pictures of themselves. It's like
cool stuff they did.
Yeah, stuff they did, or like food, or like just like places and stuff. So that I enjoy that.
The photo dump is the first trend that I have actually liked that has sprung up on social media in quite some time.
Yeah,
because it feels like the old days.
I don't take many photos, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer, but I do enjoy seeing those. And I feel like most of the people just post to their stories now.
Yeah.
That's where I see most of the stuff. And like
they're so fleeting. Stories are gone in 24 hours.
But I kind of feel like sort of like the Instagram post, like you'll see it and then like you'll forget about it. It's just like there to look at. Like,
yeah, but at least if I'm like, I want to check in on Kate, I can go to your profile and like see what you posted, and it's still fucking there. Like the stories are just like there and gone, and it's like they encourage you in a way to stay active on the app every day because you want to make sure you don't miss anybody's like cool story or whatever, which just kind of sucks.
But I don't think I posted in like over 6 months now. I don't have my phone on me, but I forget what the last pick of me was.
See, I'm trying to be better about it, but like now all of my, post-worthy pictures are of my dogs or my baby or my stepdaughter, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm just one of the adults who's posting boring shit like that. For the most part, people don't want to see, unless it's like right after the baby was born and people are like, oh my God, look, a new baby. Wow, that's so great. Congratulations, here's a heart. But like, a couple months removed, they're like, yeah, we get it. The baby's here. You have a baby now. We know what the baby looks like. Oh, look at that. It's growing. What a fucking surprise. Like, it just becomes, boring, not exciting. And, probably the peak, I feel like this is the case for everybody. The peak of social media, if you were lucky enough to experience it, was when you were in high school and college. Because that's when it was, and really, like the early days of Instagram, before Facebook was so far gone that you couldn't even log on without becoming annoyed or enraged, where like if you scrolled to the bottom of my Instagram, there's just the silliest, dumbest shit. Like there was no pressure on what you were putting up. Nobody fucking cared. I'd like take a picture of a book that I got, and like that would be a post.
I remember when I was in high school one time, it was like after a basketball practice, and my sock was bloody, and like I took a picture of that and posted it to Instagram. I don't know why. I was like, oh, what the fuck happened? Yeah. So I remember like posting just like the dumbest shit.
The Kurt Schilling?
Yeah, the Kurt Schilling,
the bloody sock. Yeah, like every time I went and played golf, I'd get a picture and put that up. Well, now I don't even play golf, so it's not really of consequence, but it would just be like silly shit like, here's me in the car with Bruce in 2013.
Yeah, and like I deleted a bunch of my old posts, so I only have 19 right now. And my most recent post is from the the F1 race here in Austin.
When
And
you
that
went?
yeah, and that was in October 2022. Yeah. So that was 23 weeks ago. And then my last post before that was from Christmas 2021. So
Damn.
I went like a full year without posting.
Well, you're just not a big poster, though. Like,
Yeah, I don't really post much on anywhere, but
yeah, which is probably part of the problem. I mean, it's part of the reason that Twitter isn't what I wish it would be. Because, like, a lot of the people that I know that have Twitter that I'm actually friends with, they don't tweet shit. They like going on there to look like mostly at, like, sports news and stuff, but they don't even ever say anything themselves, which is problematic, because then I only can read things from people I'm not really looking to see what they have to say, which it just sucks. And, I mean, what... The other version of this, or the other thing about this that's like that's destroyed it, is the algorithm, right? The
I fucking hate the
algorithmic
algorithm.
nature
I'm so sick of hearing about
of
this
each
goddamn
platform,
algorithm.
dude. It is the thing, other than the money, which I mean, I guess it's part of the same problem. The algorithm it was created on each platform for the purpose of keeping you there as long as possible, or at least that was the idea. Like, oh, we'll figure out exactly what this person wants to see, and that's what we'll show them, so they'll spend more time on the app, and therefore we can charge more money to advertisers. But that's not how it worked out. And, like, if you remember the first time, like, Instagram instigated the algorithm, it was like a nightmare. Everybody was like, no, please, God, make it stop. And they just didn't stop. They were like, nope, fuck you. This is the way it is. This is what's happening. And there's, like, a version of it. You know, you can, like, click on the top left of Instagram and go from, like, favorites to following.
Yeah.
But it takes you to like this weird side page where you don't even feel like you're actually on Instagram anymore. It's just kind of a weird way that the feed displays. But the algorithm and the concept of an algorithm is the thing that really furthered the downfall of all these apps. Like the For You page on Twitter is maybe the worst version of I've seen yet, where it's like
it's literally nothing that I want to see. I mean, there's some stuff,
not
but
just
it's
stuff I don't want to see. It's like stuff that I really would prefer to never be aware of, like at all. Like it'll be like recently I got served up like body cam footage from a police officer running into a school shooting. And I was like, come on, man, I'm just trying to go about my fucking Wednesday here. Like I don't know why that would get put into my fucking feed.
Yeah, it's the least For You page.
It is. And I mean, but even the TikTok one gets really weird. All of the Discover pages are just like tabloid fodder. And it's a mess out there, man. It is an absolute disaster. Which sucks because like, the reason I harp on this, obviously, the circumstances for me are a little bit different than if you have a job that doesn't revolve around social media like mine does. You can just not be on there and hopefully live your life free of the doom scrolling because it's just so fucking bad for you. And I harp on it all the time because it's like, look, if you don't have to deal with this, if you don't have to deal with this right now, I don't know why you are. Like if it's not part of your job, if it's not part of the way you make a living, then please tell me. I guess on social media, please tell me at WR Bolen, what are you getting out of this? What is it? Like if I had the option, which I crave daily, to just delete these apps and live more presently in the real world and like go out and do shit and like experience nature and real people physically in real life, God, I would love that. But I feel like I'm too far gone. Like it's over for me. So I'm trying desperately to save as many people as I can.
There's one thing I do to like try to limit my screen time, and I like delete the app like off like my screen, but like it's still
off your homepage.
Yeah, off my homepage. Yeah. And so you have to like scroll to like go and find it.
Or
and
do
like,
search.
Yeah.
So, I've done that some.
Granted, it doesn't really work for me, but like I don't know, it might work for someone else.
Yeah, hypothetically though. It would help. Yeah, I've done that. I did it with Instagram at one point, and it's too easy to search and still pull it right up in like a half a second or whatever. But no, it's gotten to the point where I'm just like, we all knew it was, even when the apps were still good, it was like, well, this is probably going to be an issue down the line that we're not like none of us are looking up from our phones for more than a few seconds every day. Screen time shooting through the damn roof. And I mean, just from like a common sense standpoint, you could see how that would be a problem later on. But the worse the apps have gotten, the less enjoyable they are, the more misery they bring us. I'm even more so just like, what are we doing? Why? You know, and follow me everywhere, but like, why? Like, what are we doing? It's just gotten like, I feel like I do this segment every time I think we've hit a new low, where I'm like, this is the bottom.
This
We
feels
have
like
to be
rock bottom.
bottomed out. Yeah.
But it, like,
And
we
we're
have
not.
no idea. Yeah.
And then it just somehow gets worse. Like Elon changes like the Twitter logo on the website to the Doge symbol. And I'm just like, oh. Or like yesterday, he took the W out of the Twitter on the side of their building in San Francisco. So it just says
that was
Titter.
real.
That's real.
God.
Titter. He's like a 12-year-old boy with $200 billion. Like, that's the level of behavior that he's at. Zuckerberg is just, you know, he's running a fucking multi-billion-dollar corporation at this point. Like, it's a business. It's nothing else, right? He started it because he was lonely and horny in college and he was trying to meet chicks and get laid, which is a pure pursuit by comparison to what it is now, where it's just all about sucking up as much screen time as possible, as many eyeballs as possible, as many minutes spent on the app as possible in an effort to make more money. There's no like pure intentions behind it anymore. And that's what kills everything, I think. And that's what we're really good at this, the human beings. We take something great that gets invented or revolutionizes the world, and then we find a way to make it absolute shit. I did not ever think, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I did not ever think that social media would get this far this fast, like down into the dumpster, where every time I log on, I'm like, what is this? Who are these people? What are we doing? And how can we stop the negative, like the opposite of positive progress, where it's just getting worse every day? And I don't understand like how it seems like everybody who uses it knows like, oh, this sucks more than it used to. How do they not know? How do the people who are actually building these fucking things not know that and change it? I don't understand. It just doesn't make sense to me. But at the very least, I guess one good thing that has happened semi-recently is Apple introducing all of the screen time stuff. So you can see exactly how long you're spending on each app, shame yourself with a weekly update about how much screen time you did the week prior, how much you went up or down from the week before that. And that helps me some, because when it's like, you did 15% more screen time this past week at 6 hours and 45 minutes a day, I'm like, oh my God. Because like when you do the math on that, like, okay, almost 7 hours a day, 7 days in a week, it's like 49 hours a week, 4 weeks in a month. Add that up to a year. I can't do this math without a calculator, but like that many hours of a year spent staring at my phone, seeing shit that I don't even want. That's how I'm going to spend my life. Like, I'm going to be an old man and look back at this like, what the fuck was wrong with me? What was I doing? And that is my end message here for the beginning of this episode. Like, just get off your goddamn phone. Go do something real. Please, for the love of God, unless you have to be there like I do. I mean, limit yourself at least. I'm not saying you can't get on or you shouldn't get on ever, but just like all of us need a reality check when it comes to how much we're exposing ourselves to on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, as these things have become ingrained in our lives. And for many people, your lives revolve entirely around them. And in the case of me personally, my career revolves entirely around them, which is probably too big of a part of my life and a whole other conversation altogether. But man, I just wish there was one that I really enjoyed going on. Like that I knew when I get on there, there's going to be something that makes me happy. And it just doesn't happen very often, unless it's like, again, like shit posting weird videos. Like I just showed you that random funny clip on Instagram. And there is stuff on there that does bring me joy.
I get a lot of like dogs on my TikTok For You page now, so I do enjoy that. I just see like people just like posting stuff about their dogs. No idea who they are, but it's just good stuff.
And if you're a full-blown addict and you can't get off or you have to do this for work like I do, here's a tip. When you get exposed to something you like a dog video or a Ross Bolen podcast clip, like the shit out of it, comment twice, and then share it with a friend. The algorithm will take all that into consideration and give you more of that specific thing. So like in Cade's case, he's getting dog videos on TikTok because he liked a dog video at some point.
I actually never like videos on TikTok.
Well, then it listened to you and it heard you say you like dogs.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's probably how it went down. Because, China. China. Anyway, money is the root of all evil. Speaking of money, today's episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. If you're like me and always looking to manage your budget better and save money, you need Rocket Money. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they just forget about, like that streaming service you bought just to watch one show, or that free trial that you never even used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as the click of a button. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. I can't tell you how much money I've wasted on unwanted subscriptions over the years. At one point, I realized I'd still been paying for an annual Xbox Live subscription, and I had literally given my Xbox away several years prior. That's why Rocket Money exists, baby. Stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/RBP. That's ROCKET, rocketmoney.com/RBP. All right, let me start this next segment by saying, ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live. This past Sunday, the day of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship and the day before the men's, transgender social media influencer Dylan Mulvaney, who has built a big following largely through her Day 365 of Girlhood video series on TikTok, shared a sponsored post with her 1.7 million followers on Instagram promoting Bud Light's March Madness contest. Okay, it was a post that included a personalized Bud Light can with her face on it in commemoration of her 1-year anniversary since beginning her gender transition. And as was easily predictable, the population of Bud Light drinkers who also happen to be transphobic were not pleased with this paid partnership. Now, for starters, it is my opinion that Bud Light was fully aware of the blowback that may come from hate-filled individuals who spend entirely too much time worried about what other people are doing with their lives. Because we've seen this from other brands that did similar promotional posts with members of the LGBTQ plus community, or that did things in support of like Pride Month. There's been blowback similar in scope. So I think Bud Light knew what they were doing, and I don't think the idiotic outrage is surprising to them. But surely Bud Light did not anticipate that American badass Robert James Ritchie Jr., otherwise known as Kid Rock, would distribute a video on, you guessed it, social media, publicly proclaiming, "Grandpa is feeling a little frisky today," before aiming his MP5 submachine gun at 4 cases of Bud Light and firing over a dozen rounds, exploding a couple of the cases, missing one entirely, and missing a bunch of shots by several feet, which end up in the lake behind the Bud Light display, then proclaiming, "Fuck Bud Light and fuck Anheuser-Busch. Have a terrific day." And look, I quit drinking in 2017, but even I don't agree with wasting perfectly mediocre beer like this. Like, it's just by definition un-American to do so. And while this video is overall hysterical because of its over-the-top absurdity, Kid Rock himself appears to be so upset that he's on the verge of tears, which somehow makes it even more hilarious. And as a dude who once rode all too hard for Kanye West, I don't have a lot of room to criticize people who take the words and actions of entertainers too seriously, but even so, anyone who takes the words and actions of Kid Rock too seriously is a fucking idiot. This is the same man who released a single in 2022 literally titled, "Don't Tell Me How to Live," with a chorus sung by Canadian rock band Monster Truck that proclaims, "Ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live." We literally did a segment on the show about it when it came out because it was hysterical. If you can't find humor in the "Don't Tell Me How to Live" guy being so hypocritically and unironically upset about how other people live, I don't know what to tell you. But certainly I won't tell you how to live. Have you watched this video, Cade?
The music video for
No, just the video of him.
Oh, the video of yeah, I have seen it.
Blowing away these innocent Bud Lights.
And I mean, they're still getting money from it. Like all these people that are buying these Bud Lights and like just like
dumping them,
yeah,
breaking them.
Congrats, like they still got their money from it. So like,
yeah, pulling a 12-pack out of your fridge and dumping it out, it's just another L for you. That you already paid for it, you see. And even before that, the grocery store had already paid for it. You haven't accomplished anything. Not really.
But if there are any people that like just don't want their Bud Lights anymore, you can happily send them my way because I will take them off your hands.
Kate will take them.
Yeah, I love Bud Light. That's my go-to.
Yeah,
even if it is mediocre.
That's your go-to?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, well...
This has to be particularly upsetting for you then, because a lot of it's being wasted right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not happy about the waste here.
Yeah, wasting ammo and what I estimate to be at least 30 beers here, Kid Rock, because you're sad inside that the company who made those beers paid a trans person to promote them. It's just insane. It's insane. And I thought Kid Rock was all about personal freedom. But it seems he's more about personal freedom so long as it aligns perfectly with what he sees as acceptable and doesn't make him uncomfortable. And sadly, he is far from alone in that sentiment. There are all kinds of goofballs boycotting Bud Light since their partnership with Dylan Mulvaney. But yeah, if you're going to credit Kid Rock with anything, at least he gave us all a laugh while being too much of a pussy to even say specifically why he was murdering a bunch of innocent beer cans with his piss-poor spray and pray technique, looking like me trying to get a kill in Warzone. Just awful. It's like he was barely strong enough to hold the fucking gun to his shoulder. But if you thought the laughs ended there, you were wrong. Since his wasteful video post, a 20-year-old photo of Kid Rock drinking Bud Light next to a drag queen while wearing a Coors Light hat has resurfaced and been going viral online. Photos from 2003 was taken in Miami, Florida nightclub, and just goes to show that, as always, the internet doesn't lose receipts. Also, there are a ton of people who are like, fuck Bud Light. I'm never drinking another Bud Light product again. And they're like dumping it out down their sink. And it's like when people burned LeBron James jerseys. It's like that level of dumbass. Like when he left Cleveland and people were like, fuck LeBron James, and lit his jersey on fire. It's like LeBron James did more for your city than literally any other living human being aside from maybe Drew Carey. And this feels similar. But then they're like, Coors Light only from here on out. And Coors Light is owned by Anheuser-Busch. It's the same goddamn company. They own like 50 different beers. So if technically you're going to ban Bud Light for supporting this trans activist, you can't just go pick up a Coors Light, who, by the way, has also done a bunch of shit for Pride Month and stuff like that in the past. Because they're all owned by like whatever the international corporation is. At some point, Anheuser sold to some even bigger company that is owned by like Belgium people, I believe, something like that. Anyway, we're idiots. We're just
just got too many dumbasses out there.
Just too many fucking stupid ass people running around with their opinions, man. And that's probably another piece of social media that's so disheartening is like, 50 years ago, we weren't all exposed to each other on this level. Like, if you wanted to meet a dumbass, you had to go to like a diner and accidentally overhear them having a conversation with their dumbass friend.
Now you just go on your For You page and you see a bunch of them.
And that's the only thing there. Just a bunch of dumbasses that you never wanted to have anything to do with, and you get to take in their opinions and watch them blow away innocent Bud Light cans with their MP5 machine gun. What a fucking lunatic. This guy. The video is hysterical, though. You should watch it. Just watch it on, like, a page that isn't Kid Rock's, because the more views he gets, the more susceptible he is to doing something like this again in the future. Guy's a lunatic. Absolute nut job. I saw that PFT commenter of Pardon My Take fame, who also has a podcast with Arian Foster and some other people called Macro Dosing. At some point earlier this week, I guess they were probably discussing this Kid Rock thing. And he brought up how when he saw Kid Rock in concert, presumably in Las Vegas, which is where I saw him because he has like a, whatever it's called there. That's where his show gets done at this casino. That there was a point in the show where the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center Twin Towers, came up on screen behind Kid Rock, and the second tower fell, and in the plume of smoke was just Kid Rock's face screaming. That's the level of like entertainment this dude is at, though. Like when I saw him in Vegas, which I talked about again on this show, and now I regret to some level, it was still one of the most entertaining nights of my life because it was like exactly what I expected. Like there were stripper poles on stage, strippers. The show started with him doing like a senatorial campaign speech. I think he was legitimately running for office in some state at this point. It was bonkers. The crowd was filled with like, there was like a grandma in like a badass grandma don't fuck with me shirt, like shit like that. It was just so out of control, over the top, outrageous. I mean, now that I'm saying it out loud, I kind of want to go back.
Yeah, I think you just kind of have to go just for the experience. I kind of want to go see a show.
You got to be able to separate, like, I used to argue that this was impossible, to separate the entertainer from their, like...
The art from the artist?
Yeah, the art from the artist, that sort of thing. And the further into life I've gotten, the more I'm like, you have to be able to. You have to be. There's a line somewhere where you have to, you know, then it merges and you're like, okay, I can't support this person anymore.
Is that where you're at with Kanye?
I'm close. I'm close. The thing, like, I have on some Kanye shoes today, for example, some Kanye West designed shoes that are formerly known as Yeezys. Now they're just called Adidas. But because, like, I don't look into, you know, what every piece of clothing I own, like who designed this, where'd it come from, and what are that person's personal beliefs. Because if I did, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be able to have or own or wear fucking anything ever. Because all these people end up being batshit crazy or hateful, just nut jobs. I don't feel like I would have any other shoes or clothes. And I really like these shoes. And I don't want him to take that from me, you know? I feel like he can't take that from me. So, although, yeah, that whole thing with him and Jonah Hill was pretty funny too, though.
Yeah.
Jonah Hill saved Kanye from being an anti-Semite with the film 21 Jump Street. But we're not talking about Kanye. We're talking about Kid Rock. And I think you have to separate the art from the artist, laugh at his dumbassery, and still enjoy the show if you're in Vegas. Because it is wild. Or don't if you don't want to. I'm not going to tell you how to live. Ain't nobody gonna tell me how to live. If it's hard for you to keep up with a supplement routine that comes with a bunch of different products like it is for me, or you don't know where to start with supplements or who to trust, today's sponsor, Athletic Greens, makes that so much easier. Why take a bunch of different things when you can just mix one scoop of powder in water once a day? The flagship product of Athletic Greens, AG1, which you see in front of me if you're watching on YouTube, was designed with ease in mind so you can live a healthier and better life without having to do too much. It's the healthiest thing you can do in under a minute for the deal-making mogul in your life or the everyday grind boy. AG1 has been a part of millions of mornings since 2010, and in my time using it, I've noticed an increase in energy, mood support, and most of all, better overall digestion. The goal of Athletic Greens is to make it easier for you to live your best life and have a good poop, kid. If you want better gut health, immune system support, hate taking a bunch of different pills and vitamins, and want something that tastes great, AG1 is for you. If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Just go to athleticgreens.com/Bolen. That's athleticgreens.com/BOLEN to support our show and your body at the same time. Go to athleticgreens.com/Bolen today. In other transphobic news, Warner Brothers is reportedly nearing a deal to make a Harry Potter television series at HBO Max. Apparently the deal has yet to be finalized, but Harry Potter creator J.K. Rowling, who has infamously made anti-trans statements herself, is said to be potentially in charge of development. And again, I get it. Like if it's like it's something you can't see past, fine. Maybe don't enjoy Harry Potter anymore. But like for everybody who grew up on Harry Potter, I don't think they should just have to abandon it because they completely disagree with or on the other side of an argument from the writer and the creator. That's just a bummer. You're just giving up this thing that you love because the creator is an ass. I don't think you should have to do that necessarily. Again, there's probably a line somewhere, and I would feel differently if I was a trans person myself. I'm sure I would probably ban Harry Potter. But it just, I don't know how we fucking do this when all of these people keep doing shit that's like unforgivably stupid or hateful? But according to Bloomberg, each season of the series will cover one of the 7 Harry Potter books. And this is the kind of cool thing about this potentially happening. The idea is that by creating a television series for each, or a season, one season for each book, it would give them more room to explore some of the left out details from the books. Like when they were making the movies, obviously they have to do so in a way that is respectful of everybody's time. They can't just make a 6-hour movie for each book. Although I guess technically they did make 2 parts for the final book, 2 movies for the final book, but it's neither here nor there. They had to leave stuff out. And they won't have to do that as much when they do the TV series where there's a season, a full season, presumably 10 episodes for each book. So yeah, they'll have room to further expand on plot lines that were less developed in the movies and stuff that was left out, details that were left out altogether. Now, I am a fan of the Harry Potter movies. I've seen them a whole bunch of times, probably like 20 times, all of them. And I read the first book when I was a kid, and then that was it, because like I've never been a good reader. I'm still reading The Count of Monte Cristo, for those of you who joined the RBP book club, about halfway through. So maybe by 2040, we can do a book review on The Count of Monte Cristo. But I don't particularly give a shit one way or the other about this series potentially getting made. I'm not like stoked on it. I am, however, interested to see how this unfolds, because Harry Potter fans have read every book and seen every movie multiple times, and I don't know how you replace Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter or get that audience to identify with like a new Hermione or Ron or any of the beloved characters. That just seems like a very tall task. Like some new kids are going to have insanely big shoes to fill. They're just going to run out some other fucking dork, slap some broken glasses on him and be like, this is the new Harry.
Yeah, so I am a big fan of Harry Potter. Like I've read all the books multiple times, seen the movies multiple times. I played the new Hogwarts game that came out.
The video game looks sick.
It's very fun. Loved it. Fucking hate the spiders though in there.
They scare you?
Oh, I hate spiders. Yeah. So I'm just like Ron in that aspect. I just like, yeah. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. I think there are other stories to tell in like this world, and I know they did like Fantastic Beasts, which is whatever, but there's other cool shit in this world that you can tell, and you don't have to go back to
the exact same story.
Yeah. And like, yeah, there's going to be some like things that they can expand upon, but it's still like, it's not going to hit the same.
So you would have rather had like a prequel or some kind of a spinoff or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just, you never know which way it's going to go. Like when they announced that they were going to do the second Lord of the Rings trilogy, I was like, fuck yes, dude, I love Lord of the Rings. And like, I went and saw all 3 of them in theaters, the new ones, but they weren't very good. Like they were like, by comparison, like, and they aged really poorly. Like I went back and watched one of them recently and was just like, ew, it just doesn't hit the same. And like the Lord of the Rings show on Amazon that they spent $1 billion on. Literally. I mean, it's all right. Like, it's okay. If you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, it's okay. And that's not a win. Like, that means if you don't really care about Lord of the Rings, you're definitely not watching this shit.
I watched one episode. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but I watched one episode. I'm like, I'm all right.
Yeah, you're not spending 10 hours of your life on that shit. No. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. So, look, HBO is the best of the best. They rarely miss. I have a lot of faith in them, but this is also not just HBO. It's not an HBO branded property. It's HBO Max, which is like their larger deal where they're throwing more shit under the umbrella that doesn't have to be as high quality and as prestige TV, which is kind of surprising to me considering what I'm guessing is going to be a very hefty price tag to be able to buy the rights to do this.
And
so
also like another thing, like the location, like Hogwarts, like are they gonna like use the same?
That's what I'm saying.
Place, or like are they gonna do something different? Because like, I mean, everyone knows what it looks like. Like they're gonna be able to tell like, oh, that's not right.
People, it's gonna be upsetting to some degree. That's one of the things that's made the video game Cade just spoke to playing so successful and so cool for Harry Potter fans to play. Because you get to like it is Hogwarts built out just like it was in the movies, right? Mm-hmm. So it feels like you're going and flying around Hogwarts on a broom and like getting to go look at all the different shit that you know.
Going like Charms class or like Defense Against the Dark Arts and like all that shit, going to Hogsmeade and like just like exploring this world
that looks exactly like it did.
Yeah.
That you knew it as, right? And that's along with the characters and having to find people to fill the shoes of the kids who crushed it the first time through. You're also gonna have, what are you gonna do? Just use the same set? Like go fucking dig it up wherever that got buried at some point?
And
I
like
don't know.
the thing is like the last movie came out less than 15 years ago. Like it's still pretty fresh, I'd say. It's not like how like a lot of these like reboots are over 30 years old.
Yeah, like for example, 21 Jump Street, we brought it up, right?
Yeah.
I had never seen that TV show. That was like during my parents' generation's age. So like it wasn't crazy to me that they were rebooting it and turning into comedy movies. And I was like, oh, maybe this would be tight. Had a good cast and they were fun. Good movies, funny movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they changed Kanye from anti-Semitic to back to normal, but still good movies. But that's one of the things about Hollywood that's getting so fucking weird. It's like you're not even 20 years has passed. We're rebooting the thing. We just fucking did this. Like like people are still enjoying the first batch of movies. Like I don't know if you've gone far enough. You're enough generations removed to go and do something like this, but there's just not that many original ideas to execute on, I guess, which is something people have complained about with Hollywood for many, many years. It's how we ended up in the situation where the MCU and Marvel, that's like 50% of the new movies that come out every year.
Yeah, even those are getting kind of stale right now. They're not doing too hot, which is kind of disappointing.
I mean, eventually they were going to lose steam.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will still be some more great ones that come out, but the more of them you do, the less likely you're able to repeat that.
Capture like the same magic.
It's really, really challenging. And something that, to Marvel's credit, they did a phenomenal job with for a lot of years. Like for a lot longer than I thought they would be able to. They were putting out movies that people were really, really stoked on and thought that they did a great job with.
Those first 10 years, they
crushed it.
Yeah. Granted, they did have a couple that were pretty trash, but still, it was far and few between.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like their shooting percentage was really, really high for a while there, and now it's kind of dropped off the face of the earth. But I mean, it's a weird place that we're in terms of creativity and new ideas and new storytelling, and hopefully it picks back up again at some point. But I don't know. I feel like that's been being said for 20 years, and now we're back to doing a Harry Potter TV series. Fucking, that's just the same 7 books, like you said. It's not even like they're going in a new direction. It's the original 7 books that they're going to be turning into TV shows. So we'll see how it goes. But there's a bunch of people upset that J.K. Rowling is involved as I think she's like the head of production.
Is she gonna be like the Grimm for like?
No, I don't think she's gonna be in it, but she's like.
No, I'm talking about like George R. R. Martin. Like he's gonna be like that role.
Grimm. I always say Gurm.
Oh, Grim.
I thought you were talking about like the Grimm in Harry Potter. Isn't that a thing?
The Grimm?
No, is that not a thing? Is that something else? What do I know? I'm just a casual. I admit that. I'm a casual Harry Potter fan.
Oh, Grimm is an omen of death.
Yeah. I knew I'd heard that word at some point in those movies. Never mind. I'm not a casual. I rule. Woo! In local news, following a series of deaths in Austin, Texas over the past year, speaking of grim, online and social media speculation has reached a fever pitch that the city is dealing with a serial killer. So, from the Houston Chronicle, the latest death, that of a 33-year-old man named Jonathan Honey, occurred sometime after 2 a.m. last Friday, March 31st, okay? Honey's body was recovered from Lady Bird Lake the next day, which is the lake that Cade and I have talked about on the show recently that you're not supposed to, like, swim in, that he swims in, that Cade swims in. And, but it makes him this unfortunate man who lost his life, the second person to be found in the lake dead over the past 6 weeks, and the at least 7th body to be pulled from the lake in the past 10 months, which is obviously a concerning number. But online speculation became so widespread over this past weekend in particular. It's kind of a thing that's been bubbling up, but this past weekend, after this most recent death, it spiraled. Like, I mean, I saw people that I follow from college, like that live in Austin, putting up stories like, we've got a serial killer, stay safe out there, like, don't go to Rainy Street. If you do, use the buddy system. Then I was getting viral TikTok videos of people like breaking down the possibility of there being a serial killer, it got so bad that the Austin Police Department was forced to release a statement saying that there is no evidence of foul play in any of the recent deaths. It said, quote, "One common theme of the drownings in Austin this year is the combination of alcohol and easy access to Lady Bird Lake." It said that autopsies of the victims have not been revealed to have any trauma to the bodies or indication of foul play. Frankly, like, did you read the statement? They did not do a very good job of removing, I think, public concerns around the possibility of a serial killer, and they didn't really directly address it. It's like they didn't want to give it more steam, so they didn't just flat out say it. But it doesn't look good. I'll read you a little bit more from the Houston Chronicle. In many cities, it says, known for their nightlife near bodies of water, it is not uncommon for people to drown accidentally after an evening out on the town. According to the CDC, beloved organization, men are especially vulnerable due to increased risk factors like exposure to water, risk-taking behaviors, and alcohol use, which I don't really understand. How the hell is one of the risk factors for men exposure to water? What does that mean? Are we more exposed to water than the women? I don't understand what sex has to do with it, but risk-taking behaviors also feels like a slight, like a knock. Like, what, we're just dumber, more willing to do idiotic shit?
I feel like that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, well, I guess Kid Rock is one of us. And then alcohol use, sure, but it also makes it sound like I didn't realize men were more likely to abuse alcohol. So anyway, there's a Facebook group called Lady Bird Lake Serial Killer / Rainy Street Killer, and I feel like pick one, right? But it has exploded to more than 50,000 members since being founded in early February. And this is one of the things I saw that kept getting posted this weekend. People were like, join this Facebook group to share information. And because we're in the true crime era, where everybody that I know except for Cade listened to Serial, the podcast, and it kicked off this insane true crime era where we have all these documentaries that we end up discussing on Docking with Jared, like the Murdaugh murders and stuff like that. Everybody wants to be involved. Obviously, if you live in Austin, you also probably feel motivated to join the Facebook group so that you can be updated on it if anything breaks. So you're up to date on the latest news or whatever, can stay safe, etc. But it says on TikTok, hundreds of videos show up under a search for Austin serial killer, with people warning revelers to not go to Rainy Street alone and to use a buddy system. One man even made a Google map of where the alleged victims were last seen and where their bodies were discovered. On Reddit, a user speculated that people were having their drinks drugged at bars along the street. Another user on the same thread posted a list of people who have drowned in Lady Bird Lake under presumably mysterious circumstances dating back to 2008. It's not great, Cade.
Not great.
No. Cade, don't you go to Rainy Street a lot?
Not as much anymore, and it's not because of the alleged serial killer or whatever. It's just you went to Rainy back in the day, and
yeah.
It used to be all old houses that got turned into bars.
Yeah.
And now they're removing all those bars and building apartment complexes. So all the fun bars that I used to like to go to, they're gone now. And so I don't go there that often, but I do occasionally. I like to go during the day, do some day drinking there. It's a
great day drinking spot.
Yeah.
The best in Austin, probably, or at least it was, right?
I mean, it's still pretty solid now, but I am actually kind of surprised I am not one of these victims because I notoriously leave my friends without saying anything to them. I just
the Irish goodbye.
The Irish goodbye all the time. And they have no idea where I'm at. I just call my Uber and I go, just go
wander off.
Yeah, and there's been times where I've been on West and the Uber prices were too high, so I walked all the way to Rainy Street to go get an Uber just so it'd be a little cheaper.
I've been there before.
And
back in the day, yeah.
So I am kind of shocked by that, and I also think one the things that if there is a serial killer, it's because they're offering drunk dudes rides. I've seen that theory.
It's not that implausible, right? That's
this has actually happened to me before, but I was with two of my friends, and we actually got in the car with them. I don't know why.
I did it one time on West 6.
Granted, there's three of us. And I had my hand on the lock, so if he tried to do some shit, I was not gonna let that happen.
Good for you for being aware.
Yeah.
Well, but not good for you for getting in the car in the first place.
Right. I mean, we got back safely, obviously, but
worked out. Don't do that though.
Yeah, don't take rides from strangers. I mean, we learned that at a very young age.
Yeah, one time on West 6th, back in the day in Austin, before the ride sharing was a thing, you just had to get a fucking yellow cab, and it was terrible. I used to bitch about it all the time. And when 2 o'clock would come, 2 a.m. and the bars would close, it was really, really hard to get a cab because everybody was emptying out of these bars, and there were only so many cabs. And one time I was like walking along aimlessly by myself, clearly needed a ride, and this dude pulled up and was like, "Yo, do you need a taxi?" And I was like, "Yes, but you aren't one." And he was like, $20 and I'll take you home. Like didn't even ask where I was going. And I was like, damn, it was like cheaper than it would have been if I had gotten an actual cab even. So I was like, all right. And I did it and it worked. Like he took me home and I was safe, but it was a terrible idea. Like the next day I woke up and was like, oh, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Very dumb of me to do. And I was by myself at that point. So it was not a good idea. But yeah, never get in a car with a stranger like that. I feel like that's like, every time I see a movie about a serial killer like from the 70s, a lot of them are like hitchhikers, like picking up hitchhikers and shit like that. It's like, it's not a good move. That's a quick, what was that trend on TikTok? Like, dumb ways to die?
Dumb ways to die, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them.
But you know who I think could actually solve the serial killer case is Detective James McNulty. You're familiar with The Wire, right?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so I just finished rewatching it. Got through it probably quicker than I should have, but in season 5, and this is spoilers, but it's also been out for like 20 years. So
yeah, it's been out for a long time.
So in season 5, this detective, he has to, well, they're like working a case and they got shut down. So he's like back to solving murders.
Right.
And he just comes across this one dead body, and they were like lacking police funding, so like they couldn't get overtime, they couldn't get the equipment they needed and all that stuff.
Right.
And so in order to like get that equipment, get that overtime, he faked a murder, and he like linked them together with a red ribbon. He tried to link 2 murders with a red ribbon.
Yeah.
And it just spiraled out of control from there. And
yeah, he created a fictional serial killer.
Yeah. And so I think we need him on the case because I think he could solve it. And then we also need
he could do it.
We need a journalist to fake a reporting of like seeing someone get taken in a van.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and just really set it off.
Just go straight to Wire season 5.
Yeah,
and we'll be on our way. Now that's pretty much what people are doing. One of the negatives of social media, when something like this starts to spread, it can get so out of control. Misinformation, right? Like can get so out of control. I will say this, just as I guess not, totally removed. I live in the city, so I obviously don't want anybody being killed by a serial killer, especially not in one of our districts that's supposed to be for entertainment and people coming here to have fun. It is pretty suspicious. It gets a lot of, I think I saw one stat that, and don't quote me on this, I'm pulling this out of my ass. It was like 27 bodies since 2016 or something like that, which is an absurd amount. And whenever we hear about deaths and bodies getting found in Lady Bird Lake pretty regularly because there's a lot of people partying out there. And I always just attributed it to like, oh, damn, another drunk person drowned. That is such a bummer. That's so shitty. It never occurred to me once, like, there could be somebody doing a serial killing spree and dumping bodies in the lake. But when I started to look at some of the stats in this TikTok video, I was like, oh shit, that seems actually really plausible. And another reason that I like, the light bulb went off in my head, like, well, even if the cops did have reason to believe there might be something like this going on, they probably wouldn't publicize it.
Right.
Because this is like one of the most popular areas of the city. It's the thing that draws in bachelor and bachelorette parties and makes the city a whole bunch of money and fills up the hotels. Big part of the nightlife. And if there's a serial killer out and about, nobody's going to Rainy Street anymore, bro. That's not going to be a thing anymore if people are getting offed out there on a regular basis and dumped into the lake. So I feel like they would not be incentivized to make that news very public, on top of the fact that they wouldn't be incentivized to make it public if they were doing an active investigation, right? So I don't know. It just made me think. I was like, oh, God. You can certainly see why people grabbed onto this and ran with it.
Right, yeah. And this is happening like across the country too. Like I know there's same shit's happening in Chicago. I have a couple friends that lived up there, and there was like they said like one of the bodies like someone picked them up like a block away from their apartment and stuff, and then there's like stuff in Boston and like a couple other places across the country. So it's a widespread thing, it seems like.
Yeah, not good. Not good at all. But hopefully we get more information about this Austin situation if they're able to. Like the thing that makes it complicated is I realize also that the police just can't be like giving out all the details on each death because that's private, right? It's like this person who passed away has a family and rights, and they can't just be like, well, here's what we found out about exactly what happened, you know? But at the same time, the public needs some level of reassurance that there isn't an active serial killer in one of the most popular bar districts in the city. Because that's where like people will be out and about tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like vibes on rainy tonight. It's almost like I want to send you out there to do some investigative reporting. You know, put your life on the line, Cade.
I'll be on the lookout
because it's like the vibes on rainy this weekend are going to be weird. Like it's going to be weird
because it started blowing up this week. I feel like
very big, and there are going to be people out there who are like there for the sake of kind of seeing, right? And like feeling it out, and everybody's going to be looking over their shoulder and shit. It's going to be weird. It's going to be very weird. To close out today's episode, here is a sample of the content you're missing out on by not subscribing and supporting our show on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast in exchange for ad-free exclusive episodes. We almost always take hotline calls on patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast and respond to listener inquiries, hypotheticals, trash or not trash questions, and stories with commentary and conversation of our own. Today, we are sharing 2 of those calls from this week's Patreon episode for your enjoyment. If you like what you hear and you're down to support this podcast in exchange for more of this podcast, we'd appreciate you going to patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast today and supporting our show for as little as $5 a month in exchange for premium RBP episodes. Here you go.
Ross, Cade, this is Will out of Tampa. I want to bring something up that I don't feel gets talked about enough. We all just kind of accept that parrots speak English. And that's fucking insanity. Like, it's a bird. It's a bird that speaks English. It copies you. Why are we not talking about this all the time? If there was a horse that spoke English, it would be front page news. But we have an entire species of jungle birds that can speak and communicate in our own language. It's just crazy. I don't understand how we all just got on board. Like, oh yeah, it's a parrot. It talks. What's the big deal? It fucking talks. And I don't know how. I don't know why. And I want to know. But that's it. That's my rant. Yeah, love the pod. Gang, gang, gang.
This dude is worked up about parrots, but a few obvious corrections to make here. First of all, I'm pretty sure all parrots don't speak English, man. Like, I'm pretty sure they mimic or parrot, if you will, whatever language they are exposed to, you racist. So it's not... Parrots aren't just, like, flying around in the jungle that haven't been exposed to human beings talking to each other in English. That is not a thing that is occurring. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that is not happening. Second, they don't understand English or any language, whether if there's a parrot in Saudi Arabia speaking Arabic, they don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, they're just repeating what you're saying.
They're mimicking. They learn from repetition, right? So, like, apparently they're vocal learners just like human beings. Like, if you were teaching a baby how to talk, how you sit there and you're like, da, da, and you try to get them to do it, that's the same thing with a parrot. But they don't understand what they're saying. They're just yell shit out. Like, you know, welcome back to the Ross Bolen Podcast. If we had a parrot sitting in here every day, like, they would say some shit like that, but it wouldn't know that it was doing a podcast. It would just be copying. Weird. And also, he said, like, if a horse could do this, we would be talking about it every day. Yeah, probably. That would be sick. Like Mr. Ed. Did you ever see that show?
No.
It was a horse. They put peanut butter under his gums so that he would do this. And then they voiced over like the horse was talking. Mr. Ed.
Oh, so it wasn't actually talking.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, that's
no.
a bummer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever seen the show Twin Peaks?
I've seen episodes of it.
So there's like
Super weird.
It is a super weird show, but I watched like the first season, and I remember they had like a parrot or something that like saw the murder of whoever, and they like brought it in for questioning. Like, like I don't.
Were you high when you watched that show?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't think you can watch it sober. It's like one of my dad's favorite shows that he brings up a lot. But I went back and did that at one point. I watched like season 1 of Twin Peaks. I'm pretty sure I was stoned. So I don't really remember a lot other than being thoroughly weirded out by every single episode.
Yeah, it's just super like strange. I don't know how to describe it. And some of the acting is like really bad too, but like it's super beloved. Like I know
it's a
people,
cult classic.
But yeah, like they interview this parrot and like it ends up getting killed, so they can't anymore.
Damn, somebody murders the witness.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers for that, but it's also been out for like 30 years.
Yeah,
so.
it came out in like 1989. Premiered in 1990. The first season. I think there's like 3 seasons.
Yeah, I stopped like
mistaken.
a couple episodes after the second season. I'm like, I'm all right.
I follow a TikTok account that's Sign Peaks, I think, and it's just Seinfeld scenes with Twin Peaks like music over it. Not like just the theme, but like, you know how they play real creepy, eerie music over Twin Peaks scenes the whole time? It's like, it's like Seinfeld scenes, but with a Twin Peaks vibe. I don't know why I'm sharing that with you people, but that's the thing that I've got going on. I follow Peaks
on your TikTok. That's what's
on the old
being
TikTok.
shown on your feed.
Yeah, my feed is weird. It's really weird. Next call.
What up, Ross? Cade. Hopefully J-Ben. J-Ben, we miss you. I hope to get J-Ben's take on this too, but been having an argument with my boys for a while now, and it's not going great for me. I feel like I'm pretty outnumbered, so I'm going to give it to you, and hopefully somebody over there agrees with me. This is Bo from Birmingham. I'm a pretty average guy, 5'9", 5'10", 165, like super average build. I'm a white guy, like just the most average looking dude, like nothing special, nothing awful, you know, just an average guy. We all know John Jones, world champion fighter, UFC guy. We all know John. He's built in the lab. Yeah, he's a fucking animal. I mean, no one's negating that John Jones is an animal. But if you cut off that man's legs and put him in an octagon versus me, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm kicking his ass. I'm kicking his ass, man. This guy has no legs. What is he standing on? You're telling me he's just gonna stump around and beat my ass? How? I mean, they're all pretty adamant that I'm being ridiculous, but I don't know, man. Like one kick, I'm swinging. Well, I'm kicking as hard as I can. He's perfect level for me to just knock him out with one kick. I mean, if he gets a hold of me, whatever, like I can jump up and land on my back with him on my back. I mean, the guy probably weighs like 100 pounds with no legs. I mean, we could go on and on. I'd love to hear y'all talk about it just because I know there's so many different angles to look at it from, but I'm kicking that man's ass. I don't care what anyone says. Gang, gang. Appreciate it, boys. Roll Tide.
Okay, roll tide. First of all, remember, Jared isn't dead. He's doing Formula Bone weekly. Go subscribe on youtube.com/@FormulaBone. He's at 95,000 subscribers now on YouTube, so he's about to hit 100K, and he gets one of those fucking
Gets
YouTube
one of the plaques,
yeah, which will be sick. But to your question, like, you're saying you're a very average guy over and over, which is hilarious. First of all, like just try to give yourself a little more credit, but also that you could beat John Jones. I think widely considered to be one of, if not the best UFC fighter and athlete ever to enter the octagon. He just has some issues with cocaine and personal decision making. But if he had no legs, that you could beat his ass. And that is, like, I'm with your friends. That's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Absolutely not.
You're 5'9", 165. Like, I'm 6'2", 165, okay?
I'm 6'3", 200.
I
Not
have
a shot.
no confidence that I could do any level of damage to that man, even if he had no legs. If I try, now granted, I have chicken legs, so it's a little bit less likely that I get any damage done. But you try to kick him, he's catching that leg and breaking it in half. Like, I don't think you're giving him enough credit. Like, and especially these MMA athletes, man. Like, he's dangerous in a variety of different ways. Like, it's not just the kicks.
He just needs to get you on the ground.
And then it's fucking over.
He's just pounding you in the face over and over again. There's nothing you can do about it. Or he's going to get you in like some sort of chokehold.
Yes, and I feel like it would be somehow easier for him to get you on the ground with no legs because he's already leg level. He just grabs your legs, flips your dumb ass onto the ground, and then chokes you to death.
Yeah.
Or pounds you out. Or this is not.
Do you remember that like high school wrestler or college wrestler that doesn't have any legs?
Yeah.
His name's Zion Clark, and he won state like without legs. And if he can do that, and like, granted, like he's a pretty big dude himself, but like he's not at the level of John Jones. So if that dude can
win state,
then like you're gonna be shit out of luck. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's the other part of this you're not considering. Like, your two-legged ass is gonna be shook when you get into the octagon and there's a John Jones in there with no fucking legs coming at you. Like, that is going to shake you, and you have no chance, sir. I'm sorry, that's just not happening. Like, if it was like a really big dude, like a really, really big dude, like bigger than Cade, then I would say maybe you have a chance because theoretically, you just need to land one really strong kick to the head and get him on his back, and then I think you'd have a pretty good shot. But an average guy, you or me, caller, it's not happening. We're dying in the ring. I think he would gouge our eyes out of their sockets and piss into the holes. Like, there's no way, man. There's just no way. I'm not like a big UFC guy anymore. Kay, do you ever watch the fights?
I watched the John Jones one, but I'm not like, I don't know the.
Didn't he choke that guy out? Like,
I don't remember. I was pretty drunk when I watched it.
See, nobody. That's the thing about watching UFC fights casually. You're always drunk, and nobody remembers what actually happened, unless you're a hardcore fan. We used to watch these like pretty regularly in college. Like, we didn't miss them. We would go to the same bar every time, get shit-faced, bet on the fights, and watch them, and it was fun as hell. But I just don't. I feel like I don't have room for this. It's like a whole nother sport to keep up with. And once all the mainstream dudes like Conor McGregor and whatnot, and even the generation before him, like now that they've all aged out, like I just don't even know who the fuck is out there.
Right,
like John Jones wasn't out there for years because he couldn't stop doing blow. Now he came back. He did something else too. He keeps getting in trouble though. They're always getting in trouble, these guys, because they're so violent. Got to do drugs and hit people all the time.
But yeah, it's too hard to like keep up with like everyone. I'm just like.
Yeah, I don't know who all is that good, but I think they just sold or merged with like the people who do wrestling, WWE or whatever the fuck. Like the company that oversees that is now overseeing UFC, if I'm not mistaken. I think Ari Emanuel is the name of the guy who's like in charge of all of it now. I'm looking this up. Ari Emanuel, CEO of Endeavor, an entertainment and media agency that owns the UFC and WWE. So yeah, Endeavor. So Dana White remains in control of the UFC and Vince McMahon at WWE, but Ari Emanuel runs the company. It says WWE agrees to merge with UFC to create a new company run by Ari Emanuel, which is just interesting because like WWE is obviously fake,
right? Yeah,
and now you're putting a sport that's supposed to be real. It feels like, kind of dangerous ground to walk on, because like one of the big reasons that boxing lost its mainstream appeal is because everybody figured out it was crooked as shit. And for like 30 years, boxing fell off the face of the earth. Every once in a while, when Mayweather would fight Pacquiao or whatever, there'd be like a big fight. But for the most part, nobody could name two boxers outside of those guys. And it was because it got so crooked. Like, it was so corrupt. And so to throw MMA, which is supposed to be a legitimate combat sport, into the same company as WWE, which is like, dude, they had like a WrestleMania a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And my Twitter was, every fucking tweet was about WrestleMania. Grown men, like 40-year-old men talking about fucking WrestleMania. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, if you want to watch a good, they were like, this is incredible storytelling. I'm like, what the fuck? Go watch like a Christopher Nolan movie, man. What do you do? Like, why? Why? I do not get it. It has to be like the light nature, like knowing that it's all just fake and it's not too heavy.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you like have a dumb show or movie that you like, you
Like
just
a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is, I feel like.
God, there's just it's so huge. And like, you know, granted, it's on some level, I'm just jealous that I'm not a part of this group that gets to enjoy the stupidity of fucking WWE wrestling. I just can't believe it's lasted as long as it have, and it seems like it's bigger than ever. Like, people love this shit. And it made sense to me when it's like little kids, yeah. But it's like, these are grown-ups, man. By the millions watching this shit, loving it, eating it up. And I can't wrap my head around it. I just can't. And there's always like super white trash storylines too, which are fucking hilarious to me. Like, it'll be like one dude like hits another dude's girlfriend over the head with a chair and then admits that he's been sleeping with her sister or something. Speaking of which, the other day I got in trouble on TikTok for not for hitting anybody over the head with a chair or sleeping with their sister, but on TikTok we put out a clip. I was talking about Gator Country, that place in Beaumont with Big Al, the giant alligator. And I called the dude who was running it and like out there in the water feeding the gator like fish or whatever. I called him white trash. And Beaumont people have been coming at my throat on TikTok. Like, fuck you, Gator Country is the best.
Is that clip going off right now or something?
It did pretty well. I think it did like 50,000 views, which is, you know, TikTok is so weird. It like comes and goes in waves. Like, we'll have a month where we don't do any clips that go more than like 2,000 views, and then a month where we do like 7 million views across all of our clips. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I try not to think about it too much anymore. But this particular one was one of the good ones we had last month. Like, it did okay. Mm-hmm. And it's mostly because it's Beaumont people in the comments being like, you're a piece of shit for talking about this place like that. They save these alligators. They protect them. And I'm like, okay, maybe that is true. They're pissed off because I made the SeaWorld comparison and the Tiger Country comparison.
Tiger King.
Yeah. And maybe that's unfair of me. Maybe I was wrong. We got a phone call about it, and we Googled it real quick, and I was like just talking about it in passing, and it was hilarious, and it looked like, which I very clearly said, looks like, not I know for a fact, it looks like this dude is just wandering out there in a tank top and cowboy boots and a hat and feeding an alligator, which is an insane thing to do. But I got a DM from this one chick who said that I used a classist slur.
White trash?
Because I said white trash, and I was like, what the fuck am I allowed to say? I don't know what I'm supposed to call that. I understand that it's like offensive on some level, but also like if somebody called me white trash, they would be right in some ways. And I don't think I would be offended by that. I just wouldn't. And I realize we're living in 2023 where outrage culture rules all, but it's like, that just blew my mind. We had this DM from this chick who was like, you need to delete this video. You used a classist slur. And I was like, classist slur? What the fuck? But I ended up like going back and forth with her. I was like, look, I didn't mean to ruffle any feathers or offend. Like, everybody I know who fits into that bucket of white trash is not offended by being called that because they're fully fucking aware. It's a lifestyle choice. You don't just go out and feed a gator in a fucking tank top and cowboy boots and not know what you're doing. Like that, you know what I mean? I guarantee you, in fact, Gator Country guy has, if that's, because it turns out that's the guy who owns it that goes out there and does this, he has more money than me. For sure. Based on the amount of people who have fucking replied to this thing. It's like the goddamn whole city of Beaumont is going every weekend to Gator Country and paying like $50 to get in the door probably. So I just thought that was funny. I was like, what the fuck? God damn it. And it's been a while since I got in trouble for saying anything that anyone deemed offensive. So it kind of made me feel alive again, to be honest. Maybe that's what I do for my midlife crisis. I just start saying really offensive shit. So I'll get a bunch of DMs from people that make me feel alive.
Get some TikToks to go viral off of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, you could not beat John Jones with no legs. This is like an ultimate
Absolutely
RDP
not.
moment, though. This is the ridiculousness and randomness of the things we talk about. That will do it for today's show. Now go to patreon.com/Ross Bolen Podcast and subscribe for even more. Also, please support our sponsors by hitting the links in the description of this episode and using our dedicated codes. Those are the two ways we pay the bills here at Bolen Media: Patreon and sponsorships. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/RBP and hit athleticgreens.com/Bolen to simplify your supplement routine, support our show and your body at the same damn time. Follow us on social media if you still partake in the evils of the following platforms: at Ross Bolen Pod on Twitter, at The Ross Bolen Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Follow Cade at Cade Orris on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, although he posts on Instagram once a year. And follow me at WR Bolen on Twitter and Instagram until the day comes where I can delete both. To check out our shows other than RBP, go to bolenmedia.com. We've got Jared Borislow's F1 show, Formula Bone, back in full swing, covering the latest F1 madness in a new season of F1 racing. We've got Oysters, Clams, and Cockles, which has begun coverage of Succession's final season. This upcoming Sunday, we will be covering episode 3. The podcast will drop on Monday. Final season of Succession, season 4, Oysters, Clams, and Cockles. Also hit bolenmedia.com/shop to grab yourself some RBP merch. This episode of the Ross Bolen Podcast is presented by Bolen Media, and video of today's show was produced by Cade Orris. Go to youtube.com/at the Ross Bolen Podcast for full video of our show, plus funny clips and shorter segments. Until next time, peace be with you, and also with you.